Stop. Just stop for a moment. Pause everything. Take a deep breath. I know you felt like an outsider, like you don't quite fit, like everyone else got the manual on how to belong, and you're just figuring it out as you go. And maybe you've been thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just be like everyone else? But I need to tell you something that will change how you see yourself forever. Being an outsider didn't break you. It gave you X-ray vision. Let me tell you what you've been experiencing. You walk into a room and everyone seems to know the unspoken rules, the social codes, the way things work. And you have to study them, decode them, learn them consciously while everyone else just knows. Maybe you're an immigrant navigating a culture that isn't yours. I was. Maybe you're neurodivergent in a neurotypical world. Maybe you're from a different socioeconomic background, trying to navigate spaces that weren't built for you. Maybe you just never quite fit into the boxes people tried to put you in. And so, you learn to observe, to analyze, to figure out the patterns everyone else takes for granted. And you thought that made you less than, made you broken, made you wrong. Let me tell you when I first understood I was an outsider. I was 7, first grade, living in South Texas. We were playing baseball at recess, and I was standing at home plate with an aluminum bat in my little sweaty palms. I didn't speak English yet. As an immigrant from Mexico, Spanish was my native language. I only knew just enough to know that I was supposed to hit the ball, but not enough to understand anything else. It's embarrassing when I think back. But the ball came at me like a white blur against the endless blue sky. I swung. I missed. The groans from the field sounded like a language I understood perfectly. It was disappointment. And disappointment has no translation barriers. On the third try, miracle of miracles, I connected. The crack of the bat sent a shockwave through my skinny little arms, and the ball sailed over the shortstop's head. Suddenly, everyone was screaming. And in my panic, because I didn't understand the rules of the game, because everyone was yelling in a language I couldn't decode, I ran toward third base instead of first. The screaming got louder, more frantic. 26 kids yelling corrections I couldn't understand. I reached what I thought was safety and started tagging the opposing players like we were playing freeze tag at recess. I turned to the kid on third base and asked in Spanish, ¿Qué hago? ¿Qué está pasando? What do I do? What's happening? He stared at me with bewildered kindness. He wanted to help, but we were speaking just different languages, living in different worlds, playing by different rules that nobody had bothered to explain. To me, anyway. And that's when the warmth spread down my legs. I peed myself. And the laughter that followed was the cruelest sound I've ever heard. Not because it was malicious, but because it was innocent. Kids laughing at something funny, something unexpected, something that would become a story they tell for years. I remember Coach Martinez led me off the field, his hand gentle on my shoulder. It's just a game, mijo. But it wasn't just a game. It was my introduction to what happens when you can't speak the language of your own life. When you have to consciously decode every rule everyone else absorbs without thinking. While they just knew which direction to run, I had to study the system, map it out, learn it step by step just to survive. And I thought that made me broken, made me less than, made me wrong. But what I didn't realize then, what took me years to understand, is that I was developing something they would never have. The ability to see the system, to question it, to understand it consciously instead of just swimming in it blindly. I was learning X-ray vision. I just didn't know it yet. Let me show you what I mean. There's a famous saying, fish don't know they're in water. If you're born inside a system, if you grow up swimming in it, you can't see it. It's just normal. It's how things are. It's invisible. But if you're dropped into that water from the outside, if you have to learn to swim consciously, you see the water. You see the system. You see what everyone else can't. Think about it. People who grew up inside a system don't question it. They don't see the gaps. They don't notice the broken parts. They don't recognize the patterns. Because to them, it's not a system. It's just reality. But you had to learn it. You had to decode it. You had to consciously map it out just to survive. And that means you see things they can't. You see the inefficiencies, the contradictions, the places where the system doesn't make any sense. You see the unspoken rules, the power dynamics, the things people do without even realizing they're doing them. You have X-ray vision, and they're still swimming blind. Let me tell you when my outsider vision saved my life, even though it felt like it was ending. I was 21, student at UT Austin. I was at the ballroom of an executive hotel next to campus. It was the highly coveted McKinsey recruiting event. I'd spent 2 years preparing for this moment. 2 years of learning case studies until my eyes burned. 2 years memorizing frameworks, studying their LinkedIn profiles, learning how to talk like them, dress like them, belong like them. I wore my father's Italian tie from his government days back in Mexico. I practiced knotting that tie 17 times that morning. I ironed my shirt twice, put on the tailored suit my mom had bought me for my birthday a few years back. I even pumped 3 sprays of cologne my sister gave me. And voila, I was ready. McKinsey wasn't just a job to me. It was salvation, the golden ticket out of my zip code, the signal that I belonged in rooms where decisions get made. Because working for the world's most renowned strategy consultancy to advise the most powerful CEOs, heads of state, and leaders of the world made McKinsey a calling, not a career. Or at least that's the lie I used to tell myself for many years. So at the event, I walked up to the reception table, grabbed a drink, tried to look casual, tried to belong. And this recruiter, 6 foot something, perfect hair, perfect suit, looked down at me and said, with the most smug face you can imagine, "What are you doing here?" My feet went cold. I tried to give my elevator pitch about McKinsey's global impact, about my passion for problem solving, about how I truly believed in the work they did. This man, he held up his hand, cut me off mid-sentence, and said, "This is invite only. You weren't invited, which means you aren't McKinsey material." Then he gestured toward the exit and turned away, like ruining my life was just another Tuesday afternoon activity. Some people stared, others studied their shoes, a few whispered. I pulled out my BlackBerry and I stared at the blank screen like I had somewhere important to be, like I just received urgent news that required my immediate attention, anywhere but here. So I walked out, made my way back to my co-op dorm. And I cried. The ugly kind. The kind that comes from somewhere deeper than disappointment. I cried because I'd believed the lie that if I just worked hard enough, prepared well enough, wore the right costume, I could earn my way into their world. But here's what I realized later. What my outsider vision showed me that this man couldn't see. He was swimming in a system he thought was normal. He genuinely believed he was just maintaining standards. He couldn't see the water he was drowning in. Privilege, gatekeeping, exclusion, disguised as meritocracy. But I could see it, crystal clear. And that vision, that ability to see the system he was blind to, that's what saved me. Because I didn't try to fit into their broken system. I built my own. That anger became fuel. I stopped trying to earn my way into rooms that didn't want me. I started building rooms of my own. And now, I'm in boardrooms where decisions get made. I'm mentoring founders and college students who remind me of my younger self. I'm writing, creating, I'm building. The system that rejected me, I outgrew it. Not because I was smarter, not because I worked harder, but because I could see what they couldn't, that their system was broken. And once you see it, you can build something way better. Now let me tell you why this matters. Every major innovation, every breakthrough, every revolutionary idea came from someone who could see the system from the outside. Think about it. The people who revolutionized industries, they usually come from outside that industry because they just think they can change it. The people who challenge social norms, they're usually the ones who were excluded from those norms. The people who redesign systems, they're the ones who had to learn them consciously instead of absorbing them automatically like everyone else. Because here's the thing, you can't redesign something you can't see. And the people inside the system, they can't see it. It's invisible to them. But you've been studying it your whole life. Every time you felt like you didn't belong, you were learning. Every time you had to decode the unspoken rules, you were building pattern recognition. Every time you had to adapt to a culture that wasn't yours, you were developing the ability to see systems that others take for granted. That's not a weakness. That's your competitive edge. So let me tell you who you actually are. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not missing something everyone else has. You're the one who can see what everyone else is blind to. While they're swimming in the water without questioning it, you're studying the currents. While they're following the unspoken rules, you're asking why those rules exist in the first place. While they're accepting that's just how things are, you're seeing the gaps, the flaws, the opportunities. And that's why outsiders become entrepreneurs, innovators, artists, change makers. Not because they're smarter, not because they worked harder, because they can see the system. And once you see it, you can change it. I'm serious. So stop wishing you fit in. Stop trying to be like everyone else. The people who fit in perfectly, they're swimming in water they can't see. They're following patterns they don't question. You see the water, and that makes you dangerous in the best way possible. So here's what I need you to do. Stop seeing your outsider status as a disadvantage. Stop apologizing for not fitting in. Start using your X-ray vision. What system do you see clearly that others are blind to? What patterns do you notice that no one else is talking about? What broken parts of the world are obvious to you but invisible to everyone else? Because that's where your power lives. That's where your contribution lives. That's where your impact lives. The world doesn't need more people who fit perfectly into existing systems. The world needs people who can see those systems clearly enough to redesign them, to transform them. And if you need to claim this, if you need to own your outsider advantage right now, leave a comment down below. Just 4 words, I see the system. And say it out loud. Because when you name your superpower, you actually start using it. So no, you're not broken. You're not less than. You're not missing anything. You're the one with X-ray vision. And the world needs exactly what you can see.